special episode, The Best, the Weirdest, and the Third Worst of 2024, our annual Feminist Buzzkills wrap of the year. I'm Liz Winstead, and not only am I joined by my fabulous co-host, Mojiala Wadale, we have the whole Abortion AF gang here to break down the year in all things repro. We'll also look into our ever-changing magic ball and predict what is in store for the future, if we have a future. Moj?
Who knows if we'll have a future? Hello, everyone. Joining us to unpack 2024 are two of the people who have been with us every day, eating, living, and breathing all things repro related. And they're the perfect travelers to join us on this trip down memory/nightmare lane.
Indeed, our superstar and AAF writing team head writer, Alyssa Al-Dookhi.
Hey, y'all. So excited to be back again for a second pod in a row.
And AF writer, performer, Molly Gaebe.
Hello, everybody. Yes, and I do want to emphasize, I mostly eat things repro related. It's been a stressful year. Okay. Alyssa and I are really excited to be here, and we're going to be hitting you with the highlights, the lowlights, and the strobe lights of what our reproductive lives faced in 2024. Plus, you can be a part of our annual fantasy gift exchange.
Ooh, I'm so excited. It's one of my favorite things we do all year. We draw names and then we scour the internet to create the most personalized and hilarious gifts for our secret Satan gift exchange.
That's right. And with the sky being the limit, the gifts are off the chart. So it's so great to be with all of you in the same place to break down all the fuckery. And man, there was a lot of it.
The fuckery was exhausting. I'm all out. This last quarter was 2 years long.
Time is a social construct, and we learn that every time we try to wrap up the year because it's impossible that all this stuff happened in one calendar year.
The last quarter social was bonkers. We had two presidential hopefuls, a presidential loss. I just need to lay down.
The presidential nopefuls were real.
Yeah.
Also, I feel like there's so many stories in an election year. This podcast is particularly important because so many of these stories got lost or buried because of, bacon windmills and whatever the fuck else was going on trying to elect a president. And so a lot of really important stories and a lot of really important evil villains were entering into our world, and the public never heard about it because the media cycle was just churning out election after election after election story, not realizing that there was a lot of shit churning up.
And we get up every morning and read it.
And give it to you as best we can on social, for sure.
We just don't want to be alone with all of this knowledge, is how we feel about that.
I'm also a big fan of the saying, although trite, it's true, knowledge is power. And one of the things that we really pride ourselves here at the FBK podcast and at Abortion Access Front is that we want you to know exactly what's going on so you know what the battles are that we're going to fight. And we don't just leave you hanging there like anger fluffers. Then we also give you something you can do to fight back that's not just donate or sign a petition. And certainly there's some of that, but also we want to engage you so that you can understand that there's ways that you can be part of the solution. So that's the part I'm most excited about when we talk to everybody about the year. So should we get to it?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, folks. Here's how it's going to work. My three pals here each have chosen a category: the best, the weirdest, and the third worst. They're going to lay out their top three picks for the year, building up to number one, and we're going to discuss the whole way through. I'm going to kind of play traffic cop and weigh in with some hot takes because I got a lot of them. But before we get started, I want to know what everyone's challenges were in trying to narrow down your stories this year. Molly, you had the best stories. How was that?
Yeah, I had to pick from the good news story, so it didn't take me long. Because much like abortion care in half of the country, my options were scarce.
You didn't have a practical support help there?
Didn't need it. Dooks, I feel like you had the most challenging in trying to pick the weirdest because, wow.
You're so right about that. You were talking about like all the stuff that ends up on the cutting room floor because we go through so much information. That includes the Excel file, an archive of Excel files of weird shit people in the anti-abortion portion of this country have said about abortion. So really, my challenge was choosing the most bananas of the bunch.
Did you just put the spreadsheet on a wall and then throw darts at it and be like, these three, that's what I'm doing?
Yeah, I stole one of those little baby fetuses from the Antis, and wherever it stuck, I used.
I like it. Moji, you sadly drew the short straw and have the dark place, the countdown into the worst stories of 2024. And since I do a podcast with you every week, I know that it's a challenge, but I'm curious because we haven't even talked how you narrowed down your worsts.
Well, I want to also point out that when I'm going through what I narrowed down, I have the third worst instead of just the worst. And that's because the category of the worst, well, the second worst is
Yep.
federal elections, right? Democrats lost all branches of the government and we instituted the person we did as a country. And the absolute worst is that the abortion bans that are around this country are killing us at a ridiculous rate. So I wanted to spend some time talking about those two stories before we get to my fifth, fourth, and third worst, which actually was difficult just because there's so fucking much. Like,
you know what? It's sort of surprising and like just wrapping our heads around the fact that Donald Trump getting reelected.
Wait. Who won?
Yeah, apparently. That's what I heard.
I checked out after Brat Summer, you guys.
Yeah.
Welcome back, Molly.
that was a good time to check out, Molly.
But we're planning an insurrection, so don't worry.
Perfect.
We're going to gather in Washington, D.C. on January 6th. And
Free bleed.
Yes.
but like, that's not the worst story of the year. And that freaks me out. So Moji, I just can't wrap my head around that. Tell me what's happening.
The very worst, of course, is that abortion bans are killing us. But let's talk about the second worst for a minute. And basically, the second worst was November 5th for me, right? And I think for a lot of my fellow Americans, it's been about 6 weeks since the election. And so I've had some time to process. In the first week, it was hard to get out of bed. But now that I've processed, I think that what hit me the most on the 5th was how decisive Trump's win seemed at the time. The fact that, not that he just won, but the fact that he'd won so decisively. In the time as the election results have come in, we've realized the margin wasn't as big. I felt a little more safe because it was really my safety for myself as a Black woman and my family that felt at risk. Like, oh, it's not even that we've installed Trump, but just like these people heard the racist campaign that he ran and thought like, this is perfectly fine. This aligns with my values. And I was like, oh my gosh, most of the country I knew was racist, but to actually sign on to a racist campaign like that just felt like beyond the pale. It's a tinier margin than I'd heard, and that has given me a little bit more breath, but it still fucking sucks.
It really fucking sucks, Moji, and I'm right there with you. I mean, you know, similarly as an Arab, I knew I wasn't going to be happy with the results of this election, but like I wasn't really anticipating like tinfoil hat underground bunker unhappy. Like I wasn't emotionally prepared for that, even though I knew it was a possibility.
I'm still reeling from just finding this out.
I want to hear about this rock you're living under, and I would like to buy some real estate there because it seems like a wonderful, magical place.
Her rock is made of crypto.
The day after the election, I made all the bad decisions. I decided to buy a last-minute ticket to Suffs, and I found out you can get a triple of wine, and it didn't end up well for me, or for the Suffs, for that matter.
I guess for me, it felt like it was unfathomable. If you actually could know, I don't think you could wake up. I think that we couldn't have actually done that. And to your point, both you and Dooks and everybody, you know, it's kind of like, it's not that Trump got elected. It's that 70 million people think that we have no value, and they've let us know that, and that we are on our own to fight for our own emancipation. And we're willing to do that because that's just, I guess, the way it is. But just kind of knowing that and sitting with that, like, we just have to stop making excuses that it wasn't about racism and that it wasn't about sexism, because, like, you know, they've laid their playbook out. So you know what? Now we just have to shame those people and
or get our 4% together to outvote them.
And it also leads to, you know, the number one story of the year, right, Moji? That women and people who are pregnant are dying because of abortion bans.
Women and people who have the capacity for pregnant are essentially, we are being told, by so many states disposable, a side effect of the pregnancy that they have the capacity for. And it's a really tough conversation to have for many reasons. I think that we keep hearing that like, oh, we should blame the doctors for this. And we know that that's just anti-abortion messaging because the doctors were doing fine, not letting people die in the same rate before the abortion bans, right? What's changed since 2022? And in all of these places where we're seeing people die from preventable causes for things that we have cures for, we know how to treat a miscarriage. But when there is the option of 99 years in prisons or a loss of license or debilitating fines or loss of work, or you work at a hospital that is risk adverse, it is hard to do your job. And so I would love for my fellow potties to just let us know, like, what would you like to impart to our listeners to correct the record, to help them better explain to the people in their lives that it's the bans and not the doctors that are leading to this suffering and death?
I mean, maybe it's because I read this every day, but it's like, who are you going to trust, right? Someone who has spent decades examining uteruses or someone who runs an entire platform on not being able to find the clit? I mean, I know who I trust.
The jury's out on that one. We'll never know, to be honest. No, I would tell everyone to please go read ProPublica's incredible reporting on all of these deaths. They're doing deep exposés and investigations into the stories of people who have died from the ban, specific stories. And instead of fixing the problem, states are trying to just erase the evidence. So Texas has decided that their maternal mortality committee will just not look at data from the last 2 years after they installed their ban. And then Georgia is also doing some fuckery with their maternal mortality committee. They just fired everyone, every single member after these ProPublica articles came out. So they wiped the slate clean there.
And it just feels like, as we've looked at like cabinet selections and what this new administration coming in is saying that they're going to do, which is fire the truth tellers.
Yeah.
You know, this was such a symptomatic example of what the larger road might look like. And I feel that too. And I also feel too, just when we're talking about the way that anti-abortion extremists are trying to spin it's not the bans, it's the doctors. They have every right to perform that. The other thing they're also doing is they're trying to blame the patients if the patient has had a history of drug use or if the patient is just not an acceptable patient in the eyes of the law, always blaming the patient for their status. Do they live in poverty? Are they unhoused? Like they will look at every single thing that has nothing to do with why somebody needs an abortion or is dying from their pregnancy. It's the fact that they are not getting care. And I would also add, who knows how many AI generated, insurance claims wouldn't pay for the care they need also, as we look at and examine our healthcare system under the best of times, under the worst of times, it is an absolute shit show. So those two stories, thank you, Moji, for like laying those out as the top two, because it wasn't even like in a countdown. Who's going to argue that those are not the top two stories?
Yeah, no.
Those are the top two. I want to know what other abortion focus anywhere is saying those are not the worst things that happened this year. Not that a shit ton of bad things didn't happen. And I would love to get to the fifth, fourth, and third worst shit that happened in this country regarding abortion.
Let's get there.
Fifth worst, SCOTUS's EMTALA non-ruling. When I chose this, the ones that come after, I looked at the scope of the harm and I tried to stay away from some of the recent headlines to remind us that this bullshit has been relentless all year and not all of it has made the headlines. I chose the EMTALA story in Idaho as number 5 because it's emblematic of the way that one state with a terrible point of view gets to export their horror to us all, and it's ongoing. So it hasn't been exported yet, but it's on the rise. We'll get to it. EMTALA stands for Emergency Medical Treatment and Active Labor Act, and it is a federal law that passed in 1989. And before the law was in place, hospitals would engage in a practice called patient dumping, and that was basically not treating poor patients and dumping them at public hospitals. So to counter that, Congress said, this is terrible and created EMTALA, and it requires that all hospitals who receive Medicare money provide screening and stabilizing care to anyone who shows up at their hospital, regardless of their ability to pay. This sounds like a great law. What do we have against this law? Well, Idaho has a total abortion ban and was sued by the federal government, the Biden administration, because it turns out, and doctors know this, but legislators don't, that abortion is often stabilizing care. And Idaho said, well, you might say that, but it violates our ban. In January, SCOTUS lifted the injunction on the ban, which let it go into effect. And what happened when the law went into effect is that women were bleeding in hospital parking lots. People were waiting to get sick enough for care, and several patients a month had to be airlifted out of the state to surrounding states, Utah, or I think Oregon was another place people were sent for emergency health care. And when SCOTUS finally decided on the case this June, they decided that maybe they'd been too hasty to look at this law. Maybe that they should send it back to a lower court to ruminate on it for a little bit longer, and then maybe there'll be a decision that they can talk about. But this law was enacted by Congress. So, like, why is our judicial branch meditating on a congressional law? And also, just it's really terrifying for me because what SCOTUS did was allow people to suffer in Idaho for 6 months. And rather than deciding to end the suffering, they decided to push it back to a lower court and then delay a decision that could have had impact on everyone in the country and affirming that EMTALA is rightly decided and a good law. So where we are this minute, it's back in the lower courts. Idaho had a hearing earlier this month, and maybe there will be clarity, or maybe it will bounce around the courts until it gets back to SCOTUS and they decide that they're much more comfortable in validating EMTALA, which will lead to worsening emergency room care across the nation because it's a federal statute. And so if they have invalidated, even in places in New York, there will be less of the EMTALA protections for people in this country. So I picked it as the fifth worst because it's bad. It's not great. It's really terrible, but also it's a setup for something that could be even worse for everyone.
Moji, back in my day, they used to keep the quiet part quiet. And this EMTALA stuff is really proving that they're not just saying it out loud. They're arguing the quiet part as a legal argument. Your Honor, we would rather people die than let them get an abortion. Goes home, sleeps like a baby. No shame.
Also, the way that was argued at the Supreme Court, one thing that Samuel Alito really latched onto was that EMTALA uses the phrase unborn child in the act, which is just what people said. They didn't mean that. And Alito was making the point that it's two different patients and you have to treat two different patients. And everybody should have alarm bells go off on that, because when it went back to this case that they were arguing earlier this month, the Idaho attorneys were like, yep, just like Alito said, it's two separate patients. And if we're going to be saying two separate patients, we are setting up personhood in this country. And when you set up personhood laws, you are literally transferring rights from living human people to a fetus. So you never, ever give a fetus rights without taking rights away from people who are alive and walking the earth. And I find that really scary.
Also, the unborn child part was in there because basically, if there are two competing rights, like, you also want to try to preserve the pregnancy. But if you can't, that's not stabilizing care. You keep the alive person alive, right? Like, it's not even like he was acting like it's a gotcha. And it's like, no, that's just what I would think.
Yeah, I mean, basically,
thought.
at this point, it's like they're just going back to court over and over again and being like, please, can we just kill one more person with a uterus? I mean, I just want to do one more, just one woman, please, please. Because like you said, there is no other outcome if they get their way. That is what is going to happen.
And then the fact that they are hell-bent on saying that we have to make sure people are dying, and the callousness to say, if you're not actively dying in front of me, you can't have your abortion. Not considering if you continue this pregnancy, you may go have kidney failure for the rest of your life. You may have to have a hysterectomy. You may have something terrible happen to you that you have to live with a bunch of harmful conditions that you wouldn't have to live with if you could just simply terminate this pregnancy. And the fact that they don't care what kind of life you will have, just the fact that you saved a fetus, is the part that is so gross.
And like, so you save a fetus, right? You save the fetus. The person who is carrying it dies. What about the rest of their children? what about their partner that they left at home? So you've ruined a family to save a fetus that probably needed to be aborted for a reason anyway.
Also, a lot of times, and I remember this from the hearing when it was before SCOTUS and they were doing arguments, a lot of these cases, the fetus isn't savable. It's not even like you're going to save a fetus, right? What you do is you have a pregnant person suffer, and then you lose a fetus, and then a person who is trying to carry a child or not is in medical compromised situation, presumably for the rest of their life.
Right. And
For
and
what?
that's the
We have
fifth
nothing.
worst story.
All we
Like
have
just
is
putting
pain.
that out there, that's the fifth worst story. So that story is bummer theater. Moji, let's move on to the fourth worst story because let's just bring it down a notch.
Okay, so our fourth worst story is also pretty fucking terrible. And I just want to remind everyone that it's estimated that there have been more than 64,000 rape-related pregnancies in states with abortion bans. And it's estimated that of those 64,000, 26,000 of those were in Texas alone, just Texas. It's holding down 37% of the estimated rape-related pregnancies. And this came about because researchers looked at government data and they got these horrifying numbers. And not everyone who is pregnant from rape wants an abortion. I want to hold this as a truth, but the people who do want an abortion should have the right to make that choice for themselves in all cases, including rape. Also, some of the states do have rape exceptions in their bans, but the barriers to access that care are insurmountable. Some require police reports. Abortions are required to happen before a certain point in pregnancy that maybe a person has not either realized or accepted that they were pregnant. But also, if you're in a state with a total abortion ban, who's going to perform that abortion? If you have providers left in the state that are competent, what doctor is willing to take that on? And we found this in many states when there were like the things that should have been allowed in the ban, but either aggressive AGs or whatever were like telling people, don't you dare do that abortion. So like, that's untenable. And I chose this as the fourth worst because the heartlessness of the state-supported additional violation of victims of sexual assault is stunning. I really do think that for this, the cruelty is really breathtaking.
Okay, but Moji, I thought that Greg Abbott had eliminated rape. He made that promise. He made it, and I was like, waiting. Greg, we are waiting.
I'm still waiting.
I should point out that these states that ban abortion are also the same states that don't provide sexual health education where you would learn about consent. So
I just want to say my 9-year-old is learning about consent. It's in the curriculum this year.
New York. The other heartbreaking part of this is, every time I see a number about pregnancy or rape, even, it's like, these are just the reported numbers. The truth and its unknowableness is part of the horror also.
And unless you have been a person seeking justice for your sexual assault, the hoops that you have to go through and every single time you have to force someone to believe you or try to be a compelling storyteller about your essay. And that's the part that's really terrible. And it feels like there's a glee in setting up these roadblocks. It feels like, again, going back to just this whole vibe that we have seen build up in these sort of like men's rights people and the way that they look at like Me Too was a lie and I'm a victim and women lie and people who are assaulted lie. And so we're going to put you through a gauntlet to prove. And it's untenable. And it's something that it just sets us up to fail. Like you have to prove that you're worthy of justice. And that feels really awful.
Also, I want to be clear, this number is horrifyingly high, but it's not an estimate of the total number of rape-related pregnancies in this country. These are just the numbers of pregnancies in places, in states, where people can't access abortion care. So this doesn't take into account New York and Illinois and California, right? This is just the places where you don't have abortion providers. And it speaks to the violence of rape and, like Idaho, the violence of legislatures who prioritize the rights of concepts of a fetus over actual people with uteruses. And it really just makes this number of 64,000 people sound even more bleak.
It does. But I'm going to bring some hope into this because I feel like we need a little hope. We need a little hope
Please.
break. Hope. Okay, so it's not just sitting in a vacuum. And the state of Michigan is actually doing what every state should do. This should be model legislation. So Michigan is making sure that they're going to get justice for SA survivors with the Justice for Survivors package, a series of bills aimed at protecting and supporting sexual assault survivors. The package expands the statute of limitations. So if there was a statute and you didn't get to file your claim in time, they're extending that. And there's also a survivor's bill of rights. And the action we can all take, and it doesn't matter if you live in Michigan, to get it passed is to sign an email campaign that our own AAF's Emily Bice is spearheading in Michigan to make sure that our voices are heard. So, like I said, whether or not you're from Michigan, you can email the state reps and senators and let them know that this bill matters and should be voted on ASAP. So, linked in our show notes is a Google Doc that you can just copy and paste into your email. It takes less than 5 minutes. So do it. Make sure after you listen, you go and you send that note.
Yes, please get to that. And I would like to come in at my number 3 worst abortion story of 2024. Florida's 6-week ban decimates abortion access in the South. So, until April of this year, Florida was the closest state to find care for 6.4 million people across many states in the southern United States. I picked this story because while every abortion ban is the worst ban ever, the Florida 6-week ban took a terrible situation and made it exponentially awful in the region.
Yeah, so now people who are in Miami and beyond 6 weeks pregnant will now have to travel more than 700 miles to reach their nearest clinics. That means going through Georgia and South Carolina all the way to Charlotte, North Carolina, where state law requires 2 visits spread over 3 days. And if you tally up how much time and money that costs, childcare, travel, hotels, food, this is college tuition for the kid that you might end up having anyway. So these driving distances have increased more than 100 miles for people who need abortions in Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, and Mississippi. Overall, that means that 57% of people in the South will have to travel over 300 miles to get their abortions. Those numbers are not hopeful for me.
It's true. And also, if they do end up in North Carolina, they have a 12-week abortion ban. And so when you're trying to get your money together, figure out where you're going to go, figure out, like, you might not even figure out you're pregnant until you're 8-10 weeks in, and then you're trying to get all the money and the travel together. Like, you could miss that window and then have to go even farther north to Virginia. I'm in Minnesota. And just so you can get a gauge, 30% of the abortions performed in Minnesota last year were from Texas alone. So when you think about that map, think about Texas and heading all the way east. And then south to Florida, there is no clinics at all. It's wild.
24 hours just to drive through Texas if you're living in South Texas.
Exactly. And it's like the wait time for appointments in North Carolina and Virginia have just like exponentially gone up because patients have to keep traveling further and further. And it's just an unmitigated shit show that I kind of go back to the election to think that all of this is fine with people. All of it's fine.
Yeah. And to, pour salt in this wound, Florida was so close to passing their abortion ballot initiative. They didn't just need a majority, they needed to get 60%, which is ridiculous. They got 57% of the vote, which was too short. And, they didn't get enough votes to be able to get that amendment in and overturn the ban. So as a person from Miami, this one crushed me the night of the election. This was what really hurt my soul the most. Yeah.
I'm going to consider that a win because getting 57% of the vote on an abortion initiative is pretty great. And we're going to talk about those. I'm guessing it's going to show up at some point in our little conversation. We'll see.
We'll see.
So we led with the bummer theater so we could get to some good stuff. So if you're still with us and haven't totally bummed out, we're getting to the good news. And Molly is going to lead us through the good story. So Mal, lay out your thought process as how you landed on these top 3 best stories.
Absolutely, I will. And I just want to apologize to Moji and Dooks. My job was easy. It was basically done for me because there were only truly a handful of unequivocally good news stories. The way that I picked at the top of my list here are things that brought me joy because what happened actually expanded abortion access. And the number 3 slot, well, we've got something that gave me slightly pettier joy because I just find it fucking hilarious. So I will get into it. At number 3, the anti-abortion extremists who are trying to reverse FDA approval of the abortion pill mifepristone relied heavily on some bogus research that they manufactured to make abortion seem dangerous. The judge that they handpicked gave them the ruling that they wanted, but shortly after the ruling, the scientific journal that originally published the bogus research retracted it.
That's it. This is a great number 3.
Upon closer inspection, the journal determined that the study, quote, lacked scientific rigor, which is science speak for, we got you, bitch. The journal also noted that most of the authors on the paper worked for the Charlotte Lozier Institute, which is the research arm of the anti-abortion group Susan B. Anthony Pro-Life America, and that one of the original peer reviewers also worked for the Lozier Institute. Now, I'm just a humble harlot who failed chemistry, but I'm pretty sure grading your own paper is a scientific no-no. So this one stays for number 3 for me because, as we know, the retraction did not end the case against Miffy. Now, Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri have taken over to say that they, in fact, have standing against the FDA. So they're going to take up the torch of this deeply unhinged case.
Yeah, but their idea of standing is wild. Like, one of their arguments is that abortion, specifically abortion using Miffy, lowers the teen pregnancy rate, and that the states of Idaho, Kansas, and Missouri is missing out on federal funds or will miss out on federal funds because of these concepts of a population loss. And that's such a callous take on, like, this, because it basically blatantly considers people's private wombs as state property, regardless of their wishes, right? It's saying, oh, you teenager, we need you to not have abortion care so that we can increase our population in your belly. That's so crazy.
More teen pregnancy is their argument.
Listen, we all miss Teen Mom, but not that much. Not that much. But like, I just can't get over how much this is like basically being asked who wrote your study and then pulling out a hand puppet being like, it was me, Charlotte McScience Face. I did that.
It's true. And, you know, to the point of the 3 states who are claiming that they have standing because they're losing population, like, they're literally saying, you owe us children.
Yes.
Very JD Vance, very not
Very my
mindful.
Muslim dad.
Very right, very much like, look, this is what you, and if you didn't have kids, what are you doing? You should pay more taxes because you're useless. Like, the whole thing feels wild. But to the point of this organization, the Charlotte Lozier Institute, that created these studies, one thing I just want everyone to know, because it's a fascinating situation that they found themselves in. So the Susan B. Anthony list is basically like the Emily's list of the anti-abortion movement. They promote and help fund anti-abortion candidates who are running for public office. They purposely set up this Charlotte Lozier Institute for the sole purpose of creating fake research to match to say that they have studies on their conspiracy theories. So it's not like a research arm of like that's looking into things. The lens is specific. They go, what do we want to prove? Okay, let's get 8 people to do a thing and then call it a study. And that's what these studies did.
One of these studies were like responses to a blog post or something.
That was part of their research.
100%. So basically, Yelp reviews count as a peer-reviewed study.
Yeah.
It's just a thumbs down.
I didn't like that pill. I didn't like that pill either. Look at 18 people didn't like the pill. It's a study. They don't like it. So when you ever hear the Charlotte Lozier Institute spoken of or referred to in any media, know that it is an AstroTurf research organization created solely to create AstroTurf research to prove a right-wing agenda that couldn't get proved through actual scientific research. So that is my point about them. Molly, I love that story. I had forgotten about, we reported on that when we were reporting on the Supreme Court case, but I had forgotten that. That's a good nugget for people to remember. All right. what you got? What's coming in at number 2?
Okay, well, I'm already running low on good stories. So for my number 2, I literally had to go across the pond to France. So this year, France became the first country in the world to explicitly include the right to abortion in its constitution.
Vive la France!
Woo! Yeah, they saw our trash asses banning abortion and said, I'll have whatever they're not having. We are now a global cautionary tale that inspires other countries' constitutional glow ups. And, this didn't make my top spot, of course, because didn't happen in the US. And we can only longingly stare at it from a distance and see what could be. Lesai.
Oui, le sai. The thing about France is I'll have to say, like, they get a lot of things wrong, but some of the things they get right actually involves a lot of their reproductive care. They have like comprehensive maternal care. They have Medicare for all or some version of it for their country. And that when a person gives birth, they get all of the help that they need to recover from said birth. And then they have childcare at a reasonable price. So I will have to say, perhaps we should all be looking to France for all things womb related.
I just can't get any of that stuff with my hijab on.
Oh, well, yes. Well, that's perhaps you should take away your hijab.
Well, I have a Santa hijab on right now. So.
Yeah, they really can do it all. I really love being someone else's rock bottom.
Yes.
The French gave us medication abortion. They invented it. Our U-486 came from France.
Oui, oui.
It was approved in France in 1988. They used it for 2.5 years before it was legalized here. So not only are they codifying it into their constitution, they fucking invented it.
Well, they just haven't read the blog posts of how dangerous it is.
You mean La Post blog?
Le Post blog. Vive la France.
Vive la France. Okay, Molly. Oh my
Okay.
gosh. We're going to your number 1.
Number 1, hold on to your cigarette butts, mon amour, because it's time. Drum roll, please. And the winner is Abortion Ballot Initiative wins.
And the crowd goes wild.
7 out of 10 states that had abortion on the ballot this November were able to get enough votes to enshrine abortion protections in their state's constitution. I chose this for my number 1 because I'm just really fucking proud of everyone and also really validated because we've been told for so long that abortion isn't a winning issue, that you shouldn't say the word out loud, that no one's really pro-abortion. But we saw from the droves of people coming out to vote that is simply not true, that people understand what the stakes are and overwhelmingly support abortion access.
Yeah, and that's proved by the fact that these initiatives are led and carried out by the people. You need to get thousands of signatures to qualify, and then people need to show up to get it passed. And all of that is a huge feat. And they did it. And it was done in the face of massive misinformation campaigns from the anti-abortion side, who tried every dirty tactic in the book to get these proposals to fail.
And sometimes the lying, cheating, and grinching work, right? 7 out of 10 is what we're talking about. But we also know, and we discovered by this, and we knew beforehand, that no politician is coming to save us, right? We're the ones who have to do it. And November, we fucking did it.
We did do it. And enshrining these amendments now gives us the basis for legal challenges to be brought against abortion restrictions and bans. And so we are going to be following these cases, as so many of them are already being challenged on this or that by horrible people. And I think our job ahead for real is looking at how these ballot initiatives overwhelmingly passed in states that Trump won. I think that our sort of part of our work in 2025 and beyond is to educate people about how the politicians are connected to the anti-abortion laws, because I think that people are like, I support abortion and I want to have it in my state. And it's like, okay, well, you also have to understand how these politicians are blocking you so that you're not voting for them to take away this thing you want.
Yeah, totally. All in all, a huge win for us in 2024. So boy, oh boy, am I going to savor this one like a nice French wine. All right. I'm actually going to chug this bottle. Okay.
Better do it quick before the tariff set in.
Chug a bitch, chug a bitch, chug a bitch. Now, the part we've all been waiting for, the weirdest stories of 2024, and Dooks is going to take it home.
Woof is all I have to say to start this shit off. I mean, the stories that we have in store for you really took the batshit cake, but it was up to me to sift through the most bonkers, bizarre, and absolutely unhinged abortion news stories and crown the weirdest of them all. It was a mind-numbing, rage-inducing job, but I managed to rank these gems on a scale of 1 to what the ever-loving fuck. Now, how does one do that? First, I looked at impact. Did this nonsense hurt real people? Like Liz said, these crazy things that these people say, they are saying in an effort to take away your right to abortion. So, as weird as they are, sometimes they get a little bit too scary to be silly. So, the next category is absurdity. How completely off the rails was it? And my laugh cry factor. Did it make me laugh while simultaneously crushing my soul into thousands of pieces, rolling it up, and smoking it in a backwoods?
Greatest criteria. You win the criteria game. Hands down, amazing.
Listen, I'm a very thorough person, okay? I do everything in bullet points. So, it took me hours, scouring the internet, watching clips, washing my eyeballs, starting again, and so many hate pastors and so many snacks. But I finally did it. And here are my top 3 weirdest stories from the abobosphere in 2024. Coming in at number 3, we've got the third case for personhood that we've had come up today. I chose this one because it's a great example of how magical thinking, Christian nationalism, and a complete disregard for actual science, things we've seen throughout this episode, can come together to absolutely ruin people's lives. And it is the Alabama Supreme Court deciding that embryos created through IVF are officially considered whole-ass children under the state's wrongful death law, meaning if you sneeze near a petri dish, you might owe child support.
Oh, man, this is great. This is great.
Okay, I mean, I have to have you guys to weigh in. I can't do this one alone. So, make it make sense. Do you want people to have babies or not? Because all this does is scare people off IVF treatments and make people wonder if a truancy officer is going to come after the cells in their freezer if they aren't at school by 7:30.
I mean, this is a valid concern to have. I too also wonder about my cells making it to school by 7:30 a.m. on a work day. This was also bonkers because I don't know. It was just so much. I was mostly struck by how quickly they resolved it. We see these other bans happen in Idaho and Texas, and people bleed on the street for months and years, and they do litigation and nothing happens. This was resolved really, really quickly, at least a temporary resolve. And I think it's because the average IVF patient is whiter, but most importantly, wealthier as a demographic than most other pregnant people.
That's right.
This is a reminder of how dumb these legislatures are. If you know nothing about science and you decide to pass these laws based on vibes and not facts, then you just lose, right? You lose. It's stupid.
Yeah.
And you
I
look
love
dumb.
the panic that ensued from the logical extension of their own ideology. Bro, this is your thing. You didn't see this coming? I will say that the Chief Justice did have a very sound reason for the ruling that he made. He said, quote, "Human life cannot be wrongfully destroyed without incurring the wrath of a holy God." End quote. Very chill, you guys. Honestly, you can't argue with that because it's not a legal argument. The wrath of God, my friends.
I mean, the wrath of God is the wrath of God.
I do feel like we have this concept of separation between church and state, and the legal thing would be state, and then the wrath of God would be church. But I could be jumping out on a limb with this.
That's so 2012.
So 2012.
I also want to say too that if you're gonna have personhood and that every IVF embryo is a person, I would say it has to live up to the person test. So put a person who is living into a vat that is 300 below zero and see if they live.
Yeah, that's a fine test.
Find me that person, and then fine. If an embryo can get out of that vat and just be living, fine.
I feel like this test is fully accurate, and this is the test I want to see.
This is what we need.
And we start with the justices about the holy God wrath and put him in the vat.
This is how you create Batman villains.
And by us, you mean we are Batman villains, right?
Unfortunately for us and everyone with a uterus, this is not the most off the wall shit the anti-abortion anus breathers have said. I knew you would love anus breathers. In short, this one's a little too scary to be the weirdest, so I'm going to move on to number 2.
Okay.
Sliding into second place is Wisconsin's anti-abortion lawmakers. That's right, all of them, all year. Wisconsin's abortion access has been in absolute chaos ever since the Supreme Court gutted Roe, and it left the state under an 1849 abortion ban. And not only that, the the archaic law was left in place, and it was in place, and then it was out of place, and then there was an injunction, and then there was an injunction, and then the injunction was injuncted, and so it was like this tug of war back and forth with this horrible ban from the ancient past, and it left patients and providers scrambling all year long. Meanwhile, while they're arguing for abortion bans, Wisconsin lawmakers used every hearing about them basically as an open mic for their inside thoughts about pregnancy. So what am I talking about? Lucky for me, I have clips. Clips. So let's settle in, grab your popcorn and a strong beverage, because let's meet Wisconsin State Rep Ron Tussler, who gets his science not from Houghton Mifflin, but from, you guessed it, the Bible.
One of the things I heard came from the representative from the 20th. She said that she can't think of one situation in the Bible where God forced a woman to have a baby contrary to her personal health. Sure, that's not a perfect paraphrase, but as close as I could get on the fly. Well, I would ask her to never let her Bible get dusty. For example, I can think of at least 3, probably the most well-known women in the Bible, folks you've all heard of, whether you're Christian or not, that certainly would qualify for those things. For example, Elizabeth, the mother of John the Baptist. Estimates are she was 88 years old when she was told that she was going to have John the Baptist.
Okay.
Oh.
I am named after Saint Elizabeth, so I am weighing in on this first.
You are? Mhm.
And
Please do.
while might not have an 88-year-old vagina, I have one. It is in the 60s. And if Saint Elizabeth had a kid at 88, Saint Elizabeth had died in childbirth. Because I don't know how they counted back in olden times, but it seems that 88 is probably not 88.
We hear about 88-year-olds slipping and breaking their hip and dying. I am with you 1000%. How are you going to push a thing out of your
88-year-olds cannot get out of recliners. Never mind stirrups and then pushing out a baby from their balsa wood hip pelvic floor. That it's not happening.
Also, exactly, like, I'm sorry, Mr. whichever name, Tussler, how many 88-year-olds do you know who are pregnant? And if you don't know any, why are we talking about this in the state legislature?
Yeah, I don't think he really cares about proving his point. And let's move on to somebody else who has a point to prove, and he's not doing it well. How about Wisconsin State Rep Joel Kitchens, who said abortion isn't healthcare because of this?
The question is whether abortion is healthcare. And if you believe that a fetus is a human life, then abortion is not healthcare. You know, in my veterinary career, I did thousands of ultrasounds on animals, you know, determining pregnancy and that kind of thing. So I think I know mammalian fetal development better than probably anyone here. And in my mind, there's absolutely no question that's a life. And I think the science backs me up on that.
Mm-mm.
He thinks the science backs him up on that.
Did he say mammalian?
Mm-hmm.
He said mammalian.
The millionaire.
I've never felt like less of a person as the resident breeder in this conversation. Never felt like less of a person.
I love that as a veteran, as a man who studied animal husbandry in college, I know more than anybody who actually can give birth.
I was in the 4-H club, so there.
That is so male.
That's exactly right. This is the audacity of men, right? The idea that you would stand up in public with a microphone and then part your lips and say that. That is the audacity of men.
I know. I'm an expert because I do something that has to do with giving birth of farm animals, and women are farm animals. So just so you know, that's how they view you, as a farm animal.
Again, as a person who's given mammalian birth.
I've given birth a million times.
Mammalian.
You know, this shit's crazy, but at the end of the day, it did not get a top spot because we're very used to hearing "because God said so" as a reason why oppressors want to repress. However, I have to say, "because I've been elbow deep in a cow's cooter" was a new one for us.
Is that his OnlyFans? I've been elbow deep in the cows. I would watch that. If honestly, I would throw some money at that.
Yeah. Honestly, the way things are going, veterinarians are the only place we're going to be able to get reproductive care. The mice in NYC are getting gobs of birth control, so why can't everybody else?
Delicious birth control, apparently.
So there's more in Wisconsin?
No, that was actually there was more in Wisconsin, but I only have so much that I can cover. So strap in, strap up, and strap on for the pièce de résistance, the crème de la chaos, the #1 weirdest abortion story of the year. Drumroll, please. And the winner is West Virginia State Senator Mike Azinger. Rather than tell you what this man, an elected official, thinks what happens when mommy and daddies go night-night, I'm going to let him tell you himself.
So this is a great bill. It shows conception, and Google it. At the very nanosecond of conception, there's a flash of light. When conception occurs in human beings, I believe it's across the whole animal kingdom, at the second of conception, there's a flash of light. That's God telling us, I believe, that life begins there. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, there's a flash of light at the moment of conception, like poltergeist. Like, what does he even say? Maybe he should consult the veterinarian from Wisconsin to find out if it's true across mammalian life.
These guys choose a really wild moment to abandon creationism. You know, they're like, oh, but it's across the mammalian creation thing that this shit happens. Like, it's okay. This is the point where you've decided that we're all the same.
Every time I make a crazy point, I'm just going to say, and thank you, Mr. President.
This is, again, men making up that there's fireworks every time they drop some bag chowder someplace. And it's like, oh my God, yes, there's fire. You are the Aurora Borealis. Every time you drop it, it's just people are flocking to take a picture. Is there cameras? How do they even prove this?
Aurora Boner Alice. I was thinking about that.
Aurora Boner Alice.
Mm-hmm. It's a fetus in the sky. Yeah. It's like Madonna's ray of light. You know what I mean? That's what sex is like, apparently.
Honestly, a spark would save a lot of money on pregnancy tests. Like, fuck, I saw the light. Pregnant.
Also, like, what is a spark of light supposed to mean again? Like, there's the other part. Like, okay, let's say I haven't Googled it, but let's say it's true, right? What is that spark of light? Like, okay, there's also a spark of light when I like light a campfire. Like, I'm just trying to understand what meaning he's trying to give this spark of light.
In comedy, getting the light means it's time to go. So maybe he should take a hint.
That's right. They usually play Christmas carols in the middle of July to get you out of there. You don't have to go home, but you can't come here. All right. That has been our overview of the best, the worst, and the weirdest. Y'all, good job. But don't go away, listeners, because we have the most hilarious Secret Satan gift exchange coming up, and you don't want to miss it. It's been a shitstorm of a year, and so many of these important stories go ignored.
It is our mission at FBK to be a reliable info hub and a source of humor as we face some really hard times ahead. We are in this together. We got you. And that means all these stories will be in the show notes.
That's right. You can find the best, most up-to-the-minute resources on accessing abortion care and funding your care on our website at aafront.org.
Our Charlie chatbot on the bottom right will walk anyone, anywhere in the country through their options and resources for abortion.
All right. So let's get to the gift giving.
Yay! Presents!
holiday tradition here at FBK is to play Secret Satan. We draw names and then take to the internet to scour for the perfect fantasy gift that only Satan would choose. Kicking off with Moji. Moji, who was the person you chose for Secret Satan?
I drew Molly out of the Comstock Hat of Awesome, and I really did rack my brain. What is the gift that would really speak to Molly and speak to this moment? And I decided that it really was a duo. You know what I mean? I think that I wanted to just get to the Trump cabinet pick. So I set it off with the Kash Patel holiday hoodie.
Oh,
Really incredible, just really beautiful.
The
Wow.
Punisher logo.
I don't know if you see the Santa hat, the Trump wig, a Punisher logo, and then literally a holiday camo. It is an eyesore for a person that I really think that would appreciate this level of eyesore in their life.
I'm going to get mad puss with this hoodie.
So much puss, let me tell you.
can I just say that if you look at this Kash Patel, it vaguely looks like a uterus. If you look, there's the fallopian tubes on the right, and then it kind of comes down.
Do we need a Punisher uterus merch?
Make
Okay, if you're listening to this podcast and you want Punisher uterus merch,
Punisher uterus.
It's podcast at aafront.org and let us know.
Amazing.
But also there's two parts of this. No, there's one other part. I also wanted to make sure you really had the roundness of the Trump cabinet. And I also found you an autographed Pete Hegseth book just to bring essay into the home, you know?
Oh, incredible.
Like the war on warriors, and just so you could really understand his perspective and have an autographed copy, because that
Is there a little blurb from his mom in here? This book fucking sucks.
hopefully
I'm just kidding. It was great.
it was a bookmark from his mom, and it said, don't buy this fucking book, you loser. Anyway, I'm very proud of these gifts, and I hope that you feel really connected to the cabinet of crazy.
Well, I'm invested now.
that was incredible.
Wow, so sweet. Molly, who did you draw?
Okay, I drew Saint Elizabeth this year. Ah, what a treat. What a treat. And, Liz, you created an extremely popular and successful comedy television show. So for the holidays this
The
year,
Maury and Connie show? Yes, I did do that too.
everybody knows it. Everybody loves it. So for the holidays this year, I got you an opportunity to mentor an up-and-coming comedy creator looking to break into the biz. You might remember Janet Porter. She is a driving force between the national movement to pass a 6-week heartbeat bill. She took a little time off to make a conservative sitcom called What's a Girl to Do? Finally, entertainment without the indoctrination of a godless worldview.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so literally for $5,000, you can become an executive producer.
Did you get me that, Molly? Oh my God, what a gift.
What a good gift.
Yeah. Janet came up with this because, she was watching sitcoms and she was tired of having the liberal agenda being shoved down her throat. So she made her own, starring herself. It is really incredible. Some of the episode titles are What's a Girl to Do When Her Boyfriend Doesn't Want to Make America Great? And What's a Girl to Do When Attending an Anti-Christmas Party?
You said she stars in this? Because I don't want to be ageist, but I don't get girl from her. You know what I mean? She's not giving girl.
It's like, I think it's Nepo casting.
Giving woman of a certain age. You know what I mean? She's giving like my peer.
I hope that she has a holiday episodes because I'm running out of Hallmark movies to watch.
Well, let me tell you what, you're in luck because she did reach the full Christmas episode. And if we could play a short clip of that, I would love to give you a taste of what you're now deeply involved in.
Let's do it.
Oh, hello, Karen. Yeah, I just got home.
Yeah, I know. Maybe you didn't get all of my messages. That display of yours, that is a blatant violation of the Homeowners Association, and I need you to take it down immediately.
And how does the freedom of speech and the freedom of religion violate the Homeowners Association? I don't know. Last time I checked, Christmas was a holiday.
Yes, but we have very strict rules about displays in front of our homes.
Yeah, and your blow-up Santa is like 50 times bigger than mine.
Yeah, but we've had a complaint about yours.
Did the person's name rhyme with smearin'?
What's a girl to do? What's a girl to do? I've watched so much of this show now that the theme song is stuck in my fucking head. And it's a problem.
This is real casual conversation.
Were you aware of the existence of this show?
No. And is it streaming exclusively on Rumble? Because that's even the best. I mean, like, there is no more misogynistic, besides Truth Social, there is no more white supremacy, misogynisty internet platform than Rumble.
Yeah, it's a Rumble exclusive.
Wow, I feel excited.
So Rumble and Rumble only.
You know what? I can write for both sides.
Yeah, no, you definitely can. For $5,000, she's going to be pro-abortion.
Also, whoever spent $5,000 on that video got ripped off for $4,999. Well, Molly, I am deeply excited. Thank you.
No problem.
So, narrowing it down, process of elimination, Dooks, who did you draw?
Oh my gosh. So I got really lucky this year because I actually drew the same person as last year. I drew Moji.
2 in a row.
So I feel like at this point I've really gotten to know you. And so I wanted to get you some personal stuff, some of the stuff that would speak to you, some things that were a callback to last year, and then something that was a little personal from me. So the very first item on my list, number 1, this is from Pro-Life Jen. A black Preborn Lives Matter pin.
Oh, nice.
It also comes in t-shirt. It comes in hoodie.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Because I know how much you want to let people know that not only are you black.
About black preborn lives. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God. This is so good.
I know that you probably haven't seen those before.
And it's on sale.
It's on sale.
Great stocking stuffer. I actually brought 500 and everyone's getting 17.
Nice.
Well, that was just your stocking stuffer. Like I said, that was just a little like amuse-bouche. Second of all, recently a pro-life billboard ended up right outside my house. And so I went to research pro-life across America, who is right outside my house, feels like very personal. And I found on their web store that one of the items that you can purchase is a book of John's jokes.
Who's John and why is he funny? Is it John the Baptist? Are we back to St. Elizabeth? What is happening?
Yeah, we're back to it's John the Baptist jokes. Little did we know that it was like John the Baptist Lagoon. And so, no, this is some guy named John Kuharski, and it's a book of jokes. There's baby handprints on it. There's Bible quotes. And I scoured the internet for pictures of the inside of this book because I really wanted to tell one of the jokes that are in there because I was really excited for pro-life jokes.
Is this like the pro-life Onion?
Kind of.
Yeah, I was like, is John the Dooks of the pro-life movement?
2 volumes. So like this man is prolific.
Also liberally using the word volume.
I mean, it looks like a chick track, let's be honest.
Yeah.
Well, through the power of science and zooming in and Reddit, I actually figured out what the joke on that open page is.
Oh my
God. It's not about fucking babies at all. It's just
That's lame. What's the joke? I'm braced.
So here's the joke. It's awful. A Polish guy goes into an optician's for an eye test.
No.
Optician holds up the card with CZWJNYSACZ and asks him, can he read that? And the Polish man says, read it. I know the guy.
Oh, we lead with
Oh my
racism. Fun.
Nice.
Oh.
That is what you can get for $5. The quality of jokes.
There's nothing more pro-life than racism. I like it.
Support the pro-life handbook by being racist against Polish people.
This is volume 2.
And also he's from Minnesota. So that was for Liz.
That's a twofer.
Listen, I was researching my gifts. Okay, so that was fun. Emoji, I hope you loved it.
I love it. I love it. And that joke, so good. I know the guy. What a good punchline.
My last gift that I wanted to get you last year, I got you coffee from 7 Days Coffee. This year, I found Minutemen coffee. And if you buy the subscription to the coffee, you get Kash Patel's new book for free.
Oh my God. It is literally a Kash Patel Christmas.
I'll be Kash for Christmas.
This is so lovely. Does this book have the enemies list in it?
It is. This is Government Gangsters, which is basically just a list of people who they're going to want to target with this next administration. And you can get that with a pound of dark roast from white men who say they're unapologetically, which is spelled wrong, patriotic, and stand with those who protect and defend our freedom and liberty from those who wish to take it from us. So we're making coffee about it.
Love it. Love it. But first, coffee.
Yeah. Moji, when you read it, let us know if we're in it.
I'm sure we're in it, and I'm super excited. And I think I want to get together with Molly, and we can just read Cash Patel. We can read
Yeah.
Pete Hegseth. I think that there's a world here. Alyssa, this means so much to me. I love reading. And usually I like to read smut about alien people, but also reading smut about Cash Patel, take on people who are just doing their jobs, is also equally exciting. And I just think that this is perfect. Thank you so much. I feel so seen.
It was the perfect gift for an equal smut opportunist like you.
That's amazing. All right. Well, by deductive math, I got Dooks.
I'm so excited.
And, because I run the organization, of course, I'm really rich.
Winstead money.
I took that Winstead money. I'm going to ease you in, and then it's going to be very exciting. So the Christmas tree is a Nordic tradition, and it's based on basically when the winters got long, the decorating the tree and lighting the tree would sort of light up the dark winters, right? Also, I might be making that up, but
sounds real good.
it means a tree can be for all faiths or no faiths, right? It's just a beautiful show of lights in the season to express love through handcrafted ornaments that have special significance. And so if this was a wrapped gift I would give you, I would have put this delightful ornament on the outside of your box. So I'm very excited for you to see this.
Wow.
It is a display of love of Donald Trump embracing Elon Musk in a way that feels really challenging.
Extremely.
Also, they've never looked better than when carved out of this.
Yeah,
I love this. I love how obviously AI it is. I love that they gave him Steve Buscemi eyes.
And I love that it says not 3D.
Not 3D.
It's just going to look really great on the bush of your dreams.
Oh my gosh. I will trim my evergreen with this. Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. And so I feel like we work really hard here at Feminist Buzzkills and at AAF, and people just don't take a lot of time off to take a vacation. And I wanted to really give you the gift of experience. And also, I wanted to give you the gift of being able to meet one of your heroes. And so, as we know at FBK, a lot of times in our Show Your Whole Asses, we feature Joel Webbin, who is a preacher who is fantastic. A lot of people don't know him. While Joel Webbin and his church, the Right Ministry, is doing a 3-day conference. And Dooks,
oh my gosh,
Christ is King, How to Defeat Trash World is the most Christian title ever. It's 3 days where America will either have Christ or it will be in chaos. Fortunately, Christians are finally working up to this reality. So you're going to have 3 days with incredible
oh my God.
men making the world better for men, including Dusty Devers, who is one of our favorite Operation Save America preachers who believes that women should get the death penalty for having abortions. There's a lot of men with beards, a lot of facial hair.
They look like it's like if an Animorph just kept becoming the same guy every single time.
Yeah. I mean, it's in April and it's going to be fabulous. And it's in Temple, Texas.
Oh, I'm sure I'm welcome there.
Oh, super safe.
But also, I wanted to be like, okay, sometimes when you're in a conference and it's going to be so compelling, I wanted you to be able to like explore some of the sites of near Temple, Texas. So I did some research and I'm super excited because I'm going to fly you in a day early for a private tour of the Branch Davidian Memorial Park so that you can learn all about and see the wonders that was the Waco disaster where David Koresh, his guitar will be on display, his car will be on display. And it's a memorial to the 5 shepherds of Waco and to David Koresh, who systemically raped all of the women that stayed there until the FBI burned down their compound into a fiery pit. So it feels like there's a lot happening.
I feel like this really encompasses the vibe of the weekend you're setting up for me here, Liz.
I feel like you need to really learn not just about a Joel Webben version of Christianity, but also that a David Koresh version of Christianity. One of the things you'll see is apparently an old beehive that has grown into the part that did not get burned to the ground. But I'm just really excited that you'll be walked through what's left of the Branch Davidian compound. You can ask all the questions you want, then just ease yourself into.
Oh, look, there's a vault
my
where the mothers
God.
and children were gassed.
Yeah.
There's too many pictures here. There's 3.5 stars.
3.5 stars. Branch Davidian and buried bus area. Branch Davidian, Joel Webben.
I don't usually post pictures of my buried bus area on the internet.
This is the weirdest shit ever. I was like, oh my God, the Branch Davidian Memorial Park? Are you fucking kidding me?
I want the 30 years of cover-ups and lies t-shirt. That's the merch I'm going to come home with.
Oh, also get the Don't Trust the Government shirt, because I think I saw that in the list.
Oh my gosh, this is so good.
I mean, I really want you to have a really nice spring break.
$10 donation is a steal. This is fabulous. I'm so excited. What am I going to wear? The Mifepristone costume?
I think so. If you wear the abortion pill costume, I think that is the way to go.
Okay, done. This is
Amazing.
God, I'm so excited. April? God, I can't wait.
April, I know it's a long ways to wait, but I'm really proud of you and really excited. So that's our show. That was the year that was. I hope our gifts brought you joy in life and places you'll never need to shop. But before we go, let's get to the best, the worst, and the weirdest predictions for 2025. Moji, what about the best?
Oh, abortion on demand and without apology becomes the law of the land from V to shining V.
Wow. Bold.
All right, the worst.
People continue to ignore the preventable deaths and suffering of pregnant people and the ways it's likely going to ramp up with the incoming administration.
Your weirdest?
Jonathan Mitchell, the architect of Texas's abortion bounty hunter law, will definitely dream up an anti-abortion legal strategy so unimaginably evil, I can't even think of it right now.
Wow, it's very specific.
My best is that on his way, President Joey B pardons anyone who has violated the abortion portions of the Comstock Act because there's a 5-year statute of limitations and it could shield providers and suppliers from prosecution of mailing abortion meds. So we don't end up with a national ban. And then also, I hope he tattoos his eyebrows with abortion forever.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, that's an amazing best. How about the worst?
A national abortion ban.
Oh dear. Weirdest?
My weirdest is that Elon Musk teams up with fake clinics to create an abortion reversal time machine that works about as well as a Cybertruck.
So not at all. So not at all.
So
Yeah,
not
it's
at
just,
all.
you just get in
On
and
fire.
hope for the best. Works about as well as real abortion reversal.
Molly, your best prediction for 2025.
All right. Jesus is going to come back and clarify that abortion is awesome and the gays shall inherit the earth.
Nice. Your worst.
I think we all know this is probably coming. The Comstock Act is going to be enforced to criminalize sending abortion pills and probably dildos.
R.I.P. dildos.
Okay. Weirdest?
A conservative anti-abortion lawmaker will make a woman come. I think that's weird. It'll be accidental, I'm sure.
It will be accidental.
Oh my God. The best. I think that people are motivated to get out and fight with the tools that we will give them as we work them out from AAF. The worst, we're going to have to go face to face, probably at the Supreme Court with some of these weirdos that are taking on the cabinet positions. And the weirdest will be nothing changes. It all stays the same. So that is it. Thank you for your predictions. Thank you, Dooks and Molly and Moji, as always, for this amazing show. And thanks to you, listeners, for listening and supporting us throughout this whole year. If you like what we do, please, 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 we could use your help. The form of a donation. That's right. If you want to throw some money into our coffers this year end, we would greatly appreciate it. Go to aafront.org/giveaf and let us know you care.
You can also like, subscribe, and show us some love with a 5-star rating, and stay connected on social media at Abortion Front and turn that enragement into engagement.
Looking for where you might fit in to do some abortion activism? We've got a 5-part activist training series called Operation Save Abortion at operationsaveabortion.com. And visit our super cool activist calendar, which is full of local and national actions and educational opportunities that you can take.
And also for the activists who want to support real clinics this holiday season, you can purchase much needed items off their wish lists by heading over to our Adopt a Clinic page on our website. This week, we are spotlighting Blue Mountain Clinic in Missoula, Montana. They're looking for everything from gowns to socks to snacks, and you can help them fulfill their wish lists. And a reminder to support the Michigan Justice for Survivors. Don't forget to look in our show notes for the link.
No One Asked You, the documentary about our work at Abortion Access Front, is streaming online at jolt.film or with the Jolt app on Google TV, Apple TV, Roku TV, and Android TV, now extended through the end of January 2025. Watch it now and tell everyone to do the same. The link is in our show notes.
We will be taking a couple of weeks off, but we'll be back in the new year to catch you up on what you missed with our takes on the latest abortion news. Now, tossing it to Liz to tell you about her upcoming end-of-year shows.
Yes, if you're in the Twin Cities, come and see me live for my annual year in review shows in Minneapolis titled Project 2024, The Super Weird Year. December 28th and 31st, New Year's Eve at the Parkway Theater. Tickets at parkwaytheater.com. Link is in the show notes.
Join our Patreon. You'll support great content and get cool FBK merch and experiences. All pledges support this pod and all of our activism at Abortion Access Front. Pledge at patreon.com/feminist buzzkills. FBK is edited by Remy DeTournay and is produced by Abortion Access Front.
This year, I am delighted to debut the first annual Show Your Whole Ass Out Award. Every week, the Feminist Buzzkills pod brings you audio clips of the worst take on abortion and feminism we can find on the internet. This year, we decided to award the assiest of them all and save your sweet ears from having to listen to him speak. This year's Show Your Whole Ass Out award goes to Nick Fuentes. Nick, you're a piece of shit. So every day, pretty much, the AAF writing team scours the internet for the worst things people have said about abortion and feminism, and every fucking week, this guy makes it onto the spreadsheet.
And then he gets blocked off the internet.
And then he gets blocked off the internet. But when he came back, after the election, he tweets, "Your body, my choice," which sent Marla Rose to his doorstep where he pepper sprayed her, which is what you do when women talk to you if you're a strong man. He then allegedly shoved her down the stairs, stomped on her phone, and then locked himself inside like the big brave boy he tells people all over the internet he is. Congrats, Nick. You are the first recipient of the Show Your Whole Ass Out award, and from all of us here at FBK, we hope you have the 2025 you deserve.
That's right. And we hope you have the 2025 you deserve because you're amazing. Happy holidays from all of us at Abortion Access Front. I just want to say thank you, everybody. And thank you for listening. And thanks to our whole team at AAF and FBK for making this amazing podcast possible. To Jen and Angela and Remy and Emily and everybody. Moji, of course, my queen. Thank you so much, everybody. And that's it. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, everyone. Happy holidays.
See you next year.
Feminist Buzzkills, the podcast from Abortion Access Front. New episodes drop Friday. When BS is poppin', we pop off. And if you want to support our podcast and all the work of Abortion Access Front, like, subscribe, and join our Patreon at patreon.com/feministbuzzkills.